This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 17 of Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by BiostarUS. Find them online at BiostarUS.com.
On today's show, we have Cathy McEnroe, who is an equine therapist for racehorses and hunters and jumpers. We're going to talk about colostrum and critter nutrition. The breed of the show is the Cochin chicken. And in Coffee Klatch, we're going to talk about how to relieve human stress.
So, Tiggy, we're at it again. We've got a good show today.
We do. I'm excited.
I know. I can't wait to talk to you about all the things that relieve my stress. I want to know what relieves Jennifer's stress.
Well, we're going to find out.
I can't wait. Well, and we've got a great guest. I think that we're going to have back.
Oh, yeah. She's dynamite. Cathy.
I know. It's so many good things. I'm learning so many things. I'm learning so much every week, plus the fact that you know more big words than one woman should know.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about, we know you've had a lot of rain in Texas and now you've got a lot of heat. So, what about the non-sweating issues?
Well, it's interesting because you and I had some experience a couple years ago in Virginia with your own horse and what we had to go through, and learning from that and a couple other horses. I do have a few. What I've learned is the number one thing that I have done is that I have any horse that I have any suspicion is going to have a problem is I remove the bee pulp, because they're finding that link, which with two of the horses I had on bee pulp stopped sweating that weren't typical non-sweaters, and one was actually quite a good sweater, and then took them off, and within days they were sweating again. And if I hadn't known that, because I've had other horses that I just, I don't think that we understood that was the correlation between that.
Well, and remember, a lot of commercial feeds have beet pulp in them.
I know, and you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Which is, which is stressful, because if you're trying to do the whole foods, there's obviously plenty other options that people can go through. But, initially, it stumped me for a while, because there's some horses that should have been decent sweaters that just weren't. But I have found that what I do is, with all of the horses when it's really hot, which it has been this past week, is I rinse them off before we ride, and I don't ride them more than 35 minutes. I just kind of, and with lots of walk breaks, and we do fine. But you have to really watch the ones that sweat a lot in the beginning of the year. You have to watch them, because those are the ones that tend to stop sweating after June.
And Jennifer, you found something about heat stroke.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was very interesting. I came across a post on Facebook. I have no idea the reference or who it came from. It was in a meme that they said that there are some folks that are looking into the idea that anhydrosis is related to repeated bouts of heat stroke. Which, from a completely non-scientific point of view, because sometimes things that sound like they should make sense scientifically are proven wrong, it kind of makes sense that it would.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It makes complete sense to me, just because being here and dealing with the type of heat that we deal with. And, and I will say this, I am a big believer, if you take your time and you condition your horse, you really can condition them for this type of weather and be fine with it and have a very productive training life, or whatever you want to do with your horse or your dog. I'm not sure about chickens, but I'm going to find out. But the horses here, if adjusted well and taken the proper time, and you just look for signs. Hey, this horse isn't doing well today. Pack it in. Just, don't stay out there for 5 more minutes of trying to get something done. Go in, enjoy yourself, and don't stay in the sun too long. And really, seriously, we have very little issues if the horses are properly prepared for it.
One thing that I think that we should mention is that we think when you hear the term heat stroke, you think of something that is a pretty major
Good point.
issue. And I think horses have heat stroke on very small, minor, what we would consider minor, because it's not so obvious, and we don't realize that they have overheated to the point where they're going to stop sweating. So it doesn't have to be this huge
heat
heat
exhaustion
stroke
and heat stroke, I guess, are different. So I guess maybe what we're looking at is something closer to something in the human world will be called heat exhaustion, where your body is becoming overheated, but it's not to the point where you're like losing consciousness.
Shutting down, right.
That makes perfect sense, yeah. I'm thinking of all this because today when I brought Nigel in from the field, they turned out all day long to eat grass. Well, of course, the grass in the sunshine seems to taste better than the plentiful grass that is in the shade.
Right.
So
I know.
So he's standing out there in the sun, heat in the sun, and it's 90 million degrees out there, eating grass, and he comes in, and he's usually sweaty when I bring him in the afternoon. But today when I brought him in, he was sweaty, and his respiration was elevated to it was like, whoa, something's going on here. So we had to bring him in and hose him off and do the whole get your horse cooled off thing. So that got me thinking about the non-sweaters. And then when I read that little meme, I'm going, little panic time. Oh my gosh.
Well, and you have to be careful too, because this is something else, is that when you bring them in, you hose them off, it can't be cold water. You have to really take your time and do their lower limbs slowly, because that also shocks their system, because that's another thing that can happen. And you being in Florida, I mean, you're dealing with the same type of heat we are here in Houston. Yes. You just have to be mindful. And, even though the horses are standing in the middle of the sun, and they're eating and they seem happy, sometimes horses don't know best.
Stupid.
Well, they are. And you have to go, and you bring them in and, keep your, so if he's doing that, you need to keep your eye open and go, he's probably going to continue to do this. I may have to alter his turnout for a little bit and bring him in until he gets better adjusted to it.
Yeah.
And another thing is when you're hosing a horse off, make sure you use the sweat scraper.
Yeah, you have to scrape it off as soon as you put it on. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, because that is like putting a rug.
An insulator.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I just posted that article on Facebook because a lot of people don't know that. And again, it's good to cool their skin off. It's good to do all of that, but you have to scrape it off and move the hair around a little bit, because if the hair is matted down, you're just insulating the heat in.
Yeah. Well, did you put that on the Healthy Critters Radio Facebook page?
I didn't, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because you know what I'm going to do?
That would be the best Facebook page to put it on, yeah.
It really is, because they have a lot about healthy critters. It's a good point.
Yeah, it's a great place to put it. Healthy Critters Radio Facebook, that's a great place to go, folks. They have lots of great posts there. But anyway, that's kind of where, everybody's thinking about that kind of thing this time of year, because even if your horse does sweat, he's not immune to it. So be a little bit extra diligent. Watch your horse's respiration. He doesn't always know what's best for himself. Sometimes they stand in the sun and eat grass when it's 90 million degrees out. Mm-hmm. And the pony was fine, standing right next to him eating the same grass. And he was fine, but my guy got a little bit too overheated, and we had to take care of things, and now he's fine. So there we go.
There you go. This episode's special guest segment is brought to you by Warhorse, naturally aggressive and fiercely kind.
And we're here with Cathy McEnroe. She's an equine therapist for horses. And one of the things I had asked her a while ago was, to describe what she does. And she says, I'm an equine therapist with a big couch. So
is that a sectional or like a love seat?
I don't know.
Oh, it's one of those ones, a sofa with a secret, that folds, and you can put all your stuff at like a console.
Oh, I love those.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, where you can put all your BiostarUS supplements.
Oh, good. Well done.
Good plug.
Yes.
Good plug.
So I wanted to start with the story, Cathy, of when you and I met at a barn in Wellington, and we were going through your supplements and your feed.
Yes.
How'd that go?
Well, it was a bit of a shock, to be honest with you, because I had really prided myself in trying to feed my horses in the best possible, most quote-unquote natural way. And I really thought that I was doing that. I mean, I had spent years seeking out the best supplements, additives to, help my horse's health and ultimately their performance. And so when you were called in, the recommendation from a veterinarian actually for another horse in the barn, I was very intrigued when you started to go through their supplements. And we shared a grain room, and I asked you to go through mine, thinking to myself that, well, of course, mine are far superior to theirs.
You were trying to show off a little, weren't you?
I was.
She slapped you right down on the ground, didn't she?
Yes, I was trying to show off, and Tigger so politely started to,
Who are we
select
talking about?
one of my multiple jars of supplements and started to read away. And, the more she read, the more horrified I became. And eventually, as we get to maybe the third or fourth, we didn't really get far down the list. And I did not have 30 or 40 supplements. I was prided myself that I had selected the best of 8 or assortment, that anyone could find on the planet. And as she got to the third or fourth, I found myself not being able to breathe, honestly. I had a complete anxiety attack.
There's a support group.
Honestly, I was devastated. I was devastated that, that I was not reading the labels correctly, that there is, there's this whole underlying formula to how they list things and what's really in the ingredients, what you're actually feeding your horses. And it really stopped me in my tracks, I have to say. I've talked to Tigger about this before, that I really had to take a look at how I was feeding these horses, because I was convinced that I was giving them the best of the best. And I clearly, when Tigger started reading those labels, it was obvious to me, that I was not. I was feeding them a lot of unnecessary fillers and additives, and I was actually doing harm to the horses. And that was the part that was very hard for me, is that when I realized that, that's when I went into full-blown panic mode. And actually, I said to Tigger that I even stopped eating myself for a week because I started reading my own labels. And I couldn't even go into grocery stores anymore. So
Welcome.
there was a side benefit that I lost some weight in the beginning
because your relationship with Tigger.
Right. That if anything that wasn't a whole food, I wasn't going near it. So yeah. So there was
Gotcha.
a big adjustment for me. That was my first introduction to Tigger, and it was a little bit shocking, I have to say. So, yes, that's what happened with me.
But I have to say, in the years since then, Cathy has become a real whole food warrior.
Yes. Yes.
And you work with hunters, with jumpers, and racehorses, correct?
Yes.
And there's a big difference between how racehorses are fed and conditioned and the hunters and jumpers.
Yes, and what I find fascinating about the different disciplines is it brings me back to that day with you in my grain room and the supplements. So when Tigger started with the supplements, and I asked her about her journey and how she came to understand this, she started to tell me the story of her own horse.
Right.
And what she had discovered with feeding and supplements with her own horse, and how she started to heal her own horse through food. And I remember Tigger telling me about a book that she had found, and the name of the book would be, what was the name of the book, Tigger?
In Defense
the
of Food.
1800s book.
The stable book.
The stable book. So you started to tell me about the stable book that you had found, written in the 1800s, correct? Wasn't it?
Yep, 1856.
And I was fascinated about that book and how the author had documented the calorie burn of each kind of horse, whether it was a logging horse, Pony Express horse, a carriage horse, different jobs that these horses had for transportation. Similar to what kind of fuel do you put in a Ferrari versus a VW bug? I mean, that's how I heard it. And I thought, whoa. And how they used local resources to feed these animals to get the calorie burn that they needed for that job.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when I'm working on a racehorse versus a show hunter, I often think of that conversation that we had, the calorie burn of these animals and how they have a different job, they're burning calories at a different rate, so you're going to feed them differently.
Yep.
That there's going to be different fuels that they need, and how that fuel is going to burn is based on what exactly you're feeding them. And there are many times I have gone back to that conversation of that book. And that's kind of the interesting thing about the different disciplines, whether it's a show jumper, a show hunter, a driving horse, racehorse, reining horse, that each one has a different calorie burn. And so we would go back to that book in the 1800s, which is brilliant, in my opinion, that it's, it's that simple. It is that simple to feed a horse. And it seems like we've complicated it terribly to the point that people are, like I was that day when you walked into my grain room, is totally devastated and confused. Yeah.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, man.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about the race horses is they feed those horses very simply. They have stayed with very simple based whole food, oats and alfalfa pellets, that those horses are fed very simply, high quality food and not a lot of supplements. I don't see the shelves of supplements in a racehorse stable that I see in a show hunter stable. I just don't see it. It's amazing to me.
Wow.
And yet, those racehorses could easily stand on the line in Devon and look just as good, if not better, than some of those show hunters. It's phenomenal to me. That was one of the things I was really taken aback when I started working on those racehorses, is how healthy they were. And of course they're very young, so their metabolism is better, but still, just the whole idea that their feed room is not overloaded with, mass marketed supplements, almost to the point where, you go in a show hunter grain room and I almost feel like I'm in the cereal aisle at a grocery store.
That's a great
the brightly
analogy.
colored packages. Yeah, the brightly colored packages and all the claims of the benefits, but then yet you flip it over and read the label, like Tigger has taught me to do, and it's a little bit overwhelming to understand, what are these ingredients with the horses. So that's what I'm really struck by, kind of going between the different disciplines, is that these racehorses are fed a very simple diet, and yet they look fantastic because they're just, they're not overloaded with a lot of empty fillers and things that are probably potentially harmful to them down the road as they get older, if they would continue to be fed those supplements. So
Cathy,
is that helpful?
Yes, you and I have talked about EPM, and you see it in the track horses as well as the show hunters and the jumpers. And you were telling me about when you're going over a horse, where are the things that speak to you about maybe this horse has the beginning stages of EPM?
Well, there are a couple of very significant signs as far as the muscle structure that I've begun to recognize. Even when I walk by a stall, sometimes I can see it at this point. Typically, what you notice is if you look, as I walk by a stall and I look at the horse's hind end, and I specifically look at the sacrum area and where the gluteal muscles attach into the sacrum area. For whatever reason, that area seems to become atrophied first, that there becomes a little bit of a depression there at the top of the gluteal muscle where it hooks into the longissimus, which is the back, that right kind of to the left and the right of the highest part of their butt, which is the sacrum, that there becomes this atrophy or deficiency. And then if I go in the stall and look at their shoulder, they seem to have loss of muscle in their shoulder, and the point of their shoulder, the bone actually seems to start to protrude. And even though these are horses that are in training, they're in a very rigorous routine of training, whether it's a show hunter or a jumper or a racehorse, they don't seem to develop that shoulder. And they don't seem to develop the gluteal muscles up where they are near the sacrum. And I've noticed this pattern. The other way that we diagnose the EPM syndrome is through some work that Dr. Kane did for years through acupuncture points and acupressure points, and that he started to identify certain points on the horse that were consistent with different syndromes with the horse. And he did a lot of work with these points and EPM. Now, and I've spoken to many veterinarians about the phenomenon of EPM, and most of them have confirmed with me that the majority of horses that come out of Virginia and Kentucky have exposure. Mm-hmm. And probably were exposed at a younger age, and the stress of shipping and training will activate the syndrome. And so typically these are horses that have been shipped long distance. They start them into training. They start to train these horses. They think they're just weak because they're weak. And the other thing that's very significant is they seem to be horses that are very difficult to strengthen their stifles. And stifles typically are the last to develop. So it's normal to think this is a young horse, their stifles haven't developed. But these are usually horses that they're in a rigorous training program, they're being fed well, they're on good footing, they have good shoeing, they're being ridden properly, and for some reason, they just have weak stifles. And those are horses that I have seen if, we go in to work on some of these horses, or I had a dressage horse about a month ago, and they described this phenomenon. The horse is very weak in the stifles. We just can't seem to get the stifles strong. And sure enough, I looked at the horse. It was very slight, the deficiency in the muscle, but it was there. I checked the points for EPM, and sure enough, it was reactive to the EPM syndrome. So it's an interesting syndrome. It seems to be something that the veterinarians are unsure of. Most of them claim that it's overdiagnosed. I've spoken to many veterinarians, yet it seems like the acupuncture points pick it up at a very low level. If you blood tested these horses, they would not show EPM, that the points catch the syndrome at a very low underlying level, but yet it's enough to prevent these horses from fully developing these muscles. And I was sharing with Tigger that what I have found, especially with the race horses that are in heavy training, that we put them on Chinese herbs to kill the protozoa that they're carrying.
Now, I think that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've had a lot of success with the Chinese herbs and the EPM. It seems like the traditional medicine seems to drive the protozoa deeper into the horse's system, where the Chinese herbs actually get to the protozoa and kill the protozoa. And within a week, typically, you will see the horse, a rider will say to me, wow, their stifles feel stronger. Within a week, you will feel that kind of difference. So that's got to be a neurological thing, because you don't build muscle that fast.
Right.
You just don't. And I was also saying to Tigger that I find that some horses that have had either a longer exposure to the EPM or have a weaker constitution and are just really struggling, I have found that if we put those horses on Tigger's BioFlora for probiotic in their stomach, within 2 weeks, if the horse is not responding within a week to just the herbs, I add the BioFlora, and by the second week, they're responding to the herbs and their overall health is better, because I think the EPM really compromises their whole system and their constitution, and it seems like the BioFlora just kind of enables the herbs to be more effective, and it allows the body to bounce back and rebalance itself. So that has been really interesting to see that with the show horses and with the race horses. I've gotten the same results on, with all those disciplines. I get the same result on that. And that has been an amazing thing to watch, because I have my hands on the horses all the time. So I can literally feel a change in their muscle tone and see a change in their coat.
That is so
and,
cool.
It's really amazing. I was saying to Tigger, it's a little bit like when I used to manage a big farm in Massachusetts, and we had these beautiful fields. And people would say, what should I do to my fields to make them look so nice? And they wanted to buy seed, and they wanted to buy fertilizer, and they wanted to do all this stuff. And I said, the first thing I say is, just check your pH. Just do a pH test, and you probably need more lime. And just spend the money on that. And sure enough, they would do that, and they would add the lime, and then all of a sudden the grass would look great, and it would grow. And I feel like that's kind of what I think the BioFlora does for the horses and the herbs with the EPM, is it balances their system so that the herbs are more effective, or they're more effective fighting off any disease, and they seem to bounce back quicker with the BioFlora. So that's been very interesting to watch that.
And you've had some winners on BioFlora on the racehorse side.
Yes, we have. We have had several winners, horses that were struggling with the same thing, like struggling with some intestinal problems, or just almost failure to thrive. I think, you would call that in a child. You see some of these very young race horses. It's very hard for them. They come from the farm to the training center or the track. Even though they get meticulous care, they're beautifully handled. They're taken out. They're hand walked and hand grazed every afternoon. They're given toys. They're fresh water. I mean, they're beautifully cared for. The grooms are so gentle and wonderful with them. But it's a shock to their system, to these young horses, to come off these farms into a training situation. And I have found that those horses, when I see them start to fail, I recommend the BioFlora. We put them on the BioFlora. It turns them around within a week. They go on to train, and they have done better than expected. And the reason why I say that is when I check the results on some of these horses, their payoffs are phenomenal. 22, one paid off 22, one paid off 10. Usually they'll pay off $3, $4.
Right.
That means the betting public thinks that's a winner. But when you send one to the track and it wins by 6 lengths and they're paying $22, that means the public is saying there's no way that donkey is going to finish first based on their past performances. They do past performances, the PPs. And that's the fascinating thing about the race horses is it's a little bit like baseball in the statistics, that you can really track the change and success in the animal with the race horses. I mean, it's so clear cut. So, okay, what did we do differently? Well, maybe the horse was put on some herbs and bioflora. Maybe the horse was just put on bioflora, and it enabled the horse to rebalance and to strengthen its constitution, train better, and run better, and recover. They come back from the track sound and happy and able to go back to training and go to another race. And that's the part with the race horses that I really enjoy. Is it's so satisfying because it's clear that it's working. It's clear that this is making a difference with those horses. I've also had I went to work on her horses. She came with the complaint that the horse was landing after the jump and stopping and spinning and was funny about the girth, not really standing for the mounting block. And this was a very nice young horse they had bought in Europe, and they were very discouraged because it was to the point that the horse was dangerous to ride. I evaluated the horse and found certain muscle groups, the external obliques, which are the muscles that come up under the hindgut, were very tight, telling me that there's a problem there. I also checked there is a stomach meridian that runs down their neck. I checked that meridian. It was very reactive to that. I identified that this was a horse that had probably a stomach ulcer and hindgut issues. Of course, I consulted Tigger. We put the horse on bioflora and the bio yeast, as well as treating it for a stomach ulcer with the Gastrogard. It's 3 weeks later. The horse is down to a very small dose of Gastrogard. The horse is actually showing and performing beautifully. They are so happy. They honestly thought they were going to have to donate the horse.
Wow.
They had vets look at the horse. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with this horse. And he is off. All those issues have gone away, and he mentally is more relaxed, and he is he's a happy horse, and they're thrilled, but they're beyond thrilled. They honestly thought this was a horse that needs to be donated. He's dangerous, and it was all due to stomach ulcers and hindgut ulcers and all the different things that go along with that. So I have seen some amazing turnarounds with different horses of different disciplines with the help of Tigger's bioflora, BioStarUS, and some of the other things, as well as the Chinese herbs to help address the EPM issues. So it's exciting to watch.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Again, I just my plug is this is the evidence of the gut brain connection, and this is what gets missed so often when we're treating ulcers. We forget that there is this. It's actually a triad of gut to brain to adrenals, and having a really powerful probiotic multi-strain, because the gut is made up of billions of different microorganisms, is a far better choice than a single strain or strains that are so low in their CFUs that they're just going to feed the existing colony. They're not going to be capable of colonization, and that's really the key.
Right.
Cathy, we are going to have you back because
Oh yeah, I have
you-
like 5,000 questions.
Okay.
They're all about Tigger and not about what you do. But
Can I add one thing about that bioflora? Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Time? The other evidence that it is working is the racehorse people are great at this. I tell them to dose it. They don't, because these horses are not eating. So they don't just throw it in the food, hoping that the horse might get it. They actually mix it with a little water and dose it into the horse's mouth twice a day. So that is the concrete evidence that this is what's making a difference, because it is actually getting into their system.
Yep.
And after talking to Tigger about the paste probiotics and understanding there's a lot of preservatives in the paste, I said to the trainer, no, we're just going to add some water and just dose it into their mouth. And they've been great about doing that. And it really, really has turned the horses around even faster. So I just wanted to add that.
yeah, that's amazing.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
Cathy, we
all
will
right.
have you back. We know you're on the road, so I
Okay.
really appreciate you taking the time to
Sure.
be on Healthy Critters, and we'll have you back in a few months to tell us more about the adventures on the backside, meaning the track, of
Okay.
course.
Well, yes.
Thanks for that
for
clarification,
asking
Tiggs.
me.
We know that cleaners and products we use have a great impact on the well-being of our families, our animals, our farms, and the earth. Warhorse works to offer our customers naturally aggressive and fiercely kind cleaners that provide effectiveness, versatility, and value. And Warhorse does this with special combinations of simple, humble, but extraordinary plant oils that have no pesticides, no metals, no glyphosate, no petroleum, no sulfate ingredients, and no genetically modified organisms. Warhorse's equine, pet, and people soaps use an exclusive raw sunflower oil that retains its waxes, lecithin, and vitamin E. And add some skin-loving avocado, coconut almond, and dead sea minerals, and you've got a buffet of healthy benefits for your farm family. All Warhorse cleaners are naturally aggressive on dirt and grime and fiercely kind to the most sensitive skin, even our pure gold and multi-purpose cleaners. So go ahead, get in the mud and get dirty. Warhorse has got your clean, a Warhorse kind of clean. Warhorse products are available at BiostarUS. You can find them online at BiostarUS.com or call us direct 1-800-686-9544.
Tigger and Patty, how are you?
We're wonderful. How are you?
Is Beth
We're
with you?
here. We are here with our friend Beth and our acquaintance Nikki.
Hi, acquaintance Nikki. Hi, Beth.
Beth!
That was Beth. That was definitely Beth.
How may I help you today with your inquiries?
Well, Jennifer has one for you.
Okay. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Hedwig. It's an honor to speak with you.
It is, isn't it?
It genuinely is. Well, I was watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous the other day, and they had some of the rich and famous dogs on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to thinking, a dog who is as down to earth and connected to the real world as you are, where do you fall on fashionable hairdos for dogs?
Oh, my God. I was born with a fashionable hairdo, and if I may just reference Lady Gaga for a moment, I was born this way. I don't need human interference with my suit to make me look better. I am amazing just the way I am. Don't
Did
be
you
a
say
drag,
with your
just
suit?
be a queen.
And there you have it. How does one respond to that? You just don't. I think you're beautiful, Hedwig.
Well, Hetty,
Well,
how do you feel
thank
about
you.
other dogs having this done to them?
Oh, I feel so humiliated for them. I mean, really. That's the time when you call your human psychotherapist and psychiatrist and have a meeting about how the person needs to be slapped into some sort of normalcy before they commit a major felony.
So you feel that an intervention is in order when the dogs are getting the foo-foo hairdos and the bows and the nail polish?
Long overdue, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. I was a little worried about a friend's dog who's just got some really bad hair. Yeah.
The best thing you can do is take that dog to a safe place.
Where there's cheese.
We'll do that.
Oh, with cheese. Yeah, cheese. Or we at my friend Nikki's house, we just had nice food. So you should take them to a nice place with food.
So where do you stand on clothes, dog clothes?
Well, I do have a small bomber jacket that I wear when it's chilly.
Uh-huh.
It has a fleece collar, of course, as one would. And my sister has a snowsuit, which is quite adorable. But that is it. We only wear those if it's below 20. And since we always spend our time in Florida now, it's never below 20.
Gotcha. And when it is below 20, that that jacket's going to do nothing.
Well, I mean, then the human picks us up, puts us in a heated place, and we're fine. There's no problem.
That's true.
We
You're
can
right.
wear our jacket inside.
Yeah.
The snowsuit, not as much.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can't see you running around in a frou-frou t-shirt or a. It's just not you, Hetty.
I don't need clothes. I am perfect just the way I am.
Well, I'm glad you had dinner, and I know your servant is probably waiting for dinner. So, thank you for answering our questions, and hopefully, you're saving a lot of dogs from too much frou-frou.
I can only hope that no bling will be applied to dogs in my name.
Hopefully not.
Got it.
And now it's time for the breed of the show.
So this episode, we're back onto our chicken breeds. And Tigger, I don't know if this is a breed that you have had. I know
No, I
that
haven't.
I think it's a friend of mine has had a couple of them. They're called Cochin, which I have said correctly. Thank the good Lord. But when I was originally getting into looking at different breeds of chickens, this one kept showing up because, as you know, I was looking for this crinkly chicken, which I will find at some point. But I kept coming across this, and the funny thing is I love how they're described. They're described a rabbit in a chicken, so it's a rabbit in a chicken suit. So they're just, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of them, Tigger, but they're just adorable. They're just very fluffy, and that's what they're a big, fluffy ball of fur. They call them fatty pants. Very, very friendly. So they're a friendly, fatty pants bird that seldom flies.
Do they lay eggs?
They do. They're not great egg layers. I think they really are looked at as sort of an ornamental I can't believe I'm going to say this, sort of as a pet chicken. However, they do make excellent mothers. The hens get up to about 9 pounds. They make good mothers and very good foster moms, which is, I guess, very important in the chicken world. And this is a very important fact to note, that they seldom cackle when they lay.
That is because all my hens cackle when they lay.
Do they? Well, it was so funny because I read it like 4 times and I'm like, that's a thing? So I guess it is. The male, it gets up to about 11 pounds. The male has 5 points on their comb, and the third comb, and which is goes along the top of their head, is apparently very long. Like I'd said before, their temperament is they're very peaceful and friendly. They're easily handled. It's, I think, one of the number one, chickens that people, when they're looking for them as something in their backyard or something as a pet, which I guess people do that. And this is such a new world to me. It's just so fascinating. I want one of these chickens for sure.
Let me tell you that there is a good reason, I think, to have a chicken that doesn't squawk when they're laying an egg, because when they're laying an egg, you think they're dying. And then when you think about it, it's like they're giving birth every day.
Oh yeah, I mean that's horrible. I mean, I can't even imagine these poor things. But they don't lay a lot of eggs. They're not big leg, so it's not an issue with this particular bird. They they do confinement. They like to be confined, so they are compatible almost in any type of environment, which again makes them
Apartments.
Yeah, like you could have
motorhomes,
car, motorhomes, small vehicles, things like that work fine, because once again they don't cackle when they lay eggs, so it's not like they're going to keep you up. And it did. One other site said this breed is of chicken has inspired many to pick up poultry as a hobby. Let's see, things to watch for. Because they have such big plumage, they can hide very small scrapes that can easily succumb to infection. And I had read that their skin is, I'm trying to think what color they said. It's sort of like a yellowy color, which apparently it makes them more susceptible to different types of scrapes, which can really turn into infections. So sometimes you actually have to clip your chickens.
Hedwig would not be amused.
No, she would not. But I can see these chickens wearing suits and jackets. But
chicken up.
Yeah. But, basically, I think if anybody is looking to get into having a chicken in your backyard, that whether it large or small, that this is a really decent one to consider starting off with. They make excellent pets, and they're very lovable. And they come in a ton of different colors, like black and buff, which is sort of like, I think, a yellowish color, a partridge, which is probably more yellow, white, barred, which I don't know what color that is, brown, red, or golden laced. So there you have it. It's a good chicken to have, and they don't make a lot of noise.
Totally fluffy.
We're in the Critter Nutrition Corner, and today we're going to talk about bovine colostrum, which is nature's superfood. Bovine colostrum is one of those superfoods that I always have on hand for the horses and the dogs and myself. I first got wind of this superfood after the 2000 Summer Olympics, when it was revealed that the powerful Australian swim team was supplementing with bovine colostrum. What makes bovine colostrum a superfood is that it supports a range of biological activities: immune, cellular repair, bone support, glucose tolerance, protection of GI tract tissue, and optimization of beneficial intestinal flora. Colostrum is an immune system modulator. This means that colostrum can stimulate the immune system if needed, or bring it back to homeostasis if it is overreacting. Common overreactions of the immune system are allergies, hives, systemic inflammation. Colostrum can turn up the immune response or turn it down as needed. There really is no other food that can do this. Colostrum provides a potent array of immune factors, including immunoglobulins, cytokines, interferon, lactoferrin, and the PRPs. Specific proteins found in colostrum are part of the innate immune system and provide important protection against harmful bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Lactoferrin is a protein that destroys bacteria by binding free iron, which is needed by certain bacteria and fungi to reproduce. The transfer factors are immune system molecules that contain codes for immune recognition and balance. The immunoglobulins, that are also known as antibodies, are a critical part of the immune system response because they recognize and bind to antigens such as bacteria, viruses, fungus, protozoa, and cancer cells. The immunoglobulins in colostrum contribute to its ability to kill dangerous bacteria, including E. coli, Salmonella, Candida, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, Cryptosporidium, and Rotavirus. The PRPs are able to regulate the thymus gland, which is the master of the immune system. PRPs can help bring the immune system back to homeostasis or stimulate it to fight infections and diseases. Colostrum is an amazing food for tissue repair and injury recovery. It provides 70 different growth factors which can accelerate healing of muscle, tendon, and ligaments. Providing platelet-derived growth factor helps to stimulate collagen production, while the fibroblast growth factor and epithelial growth factor repair muscle fibers, tendons, and ligaments through regulation of cellular migration and proliferation. The transforming growth factor in colostrum stimulates the production and repair of RNA and DNA. Using bovine colostrum can help horses and dogs and humans recover more quickly from injuries. Colostrum is also beneficial for bone regeneration. Recent studies have shown that lactoferrin in bovine colostrum accelerated bone regeneration in bone defects. Lactoferrin activates osteoblast, and these are the cells that synthesize bone, and inhibits cell death. Bovine colostrum can increase bone mineral density and promote calcium absorption. A study published in Dairy Scientific Technology in 2009 showed that the acid proteins in bovine colostrum increased mineral bone density. If your horse is currently on a protocol of Tildren or Osphos, bovine colostrum would be an excellent support food for bone. Various researchers have also identified that bovine colostrum is important for metabolism. It has an activating nutrient called insulin-like growth factor. This protein plays an integral role in endocrine regulation of metabolism. And what that means is it helps to balance blood sugar in the body. So this makes colostrum very beneficial for metabolic horses. Bovine colostrum provides protection of a gastrointestinal tissue. Components of bovine colostrum can stimulate repair of intestinal membranes. The anti-inflammatory effect reduces hyperpermeability, including leaky gut and irritable bowel syndrome. It also helps boost levels of an important antioxidant, glutathione. Low levels of this antioxidant are associated with inflammatory bowel diseases and ulcerative colitis. Other benefits of colostrum for the GI tract are that it can heal the damage and irritation done to the gut by non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Bovine colostrum also is beneficial for the microorganisms in the gut. It provides actually a prebiotic food that enhances the growth of the beneficial bifidobacteria that inhabit the small intestine. It's an important food for athletes. Studies on human athletes have demonstrated the importance of bovine supplementation, including a 20% increase in strength and stamina and shorter recovery time for soccer players and cyclists. A study from Finland highlighted that skiers taking colostrum experienced less fatigue and only half the level of blood creatine kinase, which is a marker of muscle injury. Performance in sport horses, dogs that do agility, flyball, herding, all can benefit from bovine supplementation. Colostrum is also a support food. If your horse has been diagnosed with Lyme's or EPM, bovine colostrum is an important support food for these horses because it regulates the immune system, helps tissue repair, and supports the GI tract and intestinal membranes. Colostrum is an important support food for horses with allergies or those having an allergic reaction such as hives. Colostrum is excellent support for healing connective tissues like ligaments. When choosing bovine colostrum, you keep in mind that bovine colostrum is measured by the amount of IgGs, that's immunoglobulin G. Most colostrum supplements are at 15% IgG, with the exception of colostrum for foals, which is 40% IgG. BiostarUS Colostrum 38 is 38% IgG from grass-fed RBGH-free cows in Canada. Because our colostrum is so high in IgGs, you only need 1/2 to 1 teaspoon per day to provide your horse with the powerful elements of colostrum. Here we are in the coffee clutch corner. Everybody clinking our clink.
Drinking their coffee.
That's it.
Or they have a coffee cup. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't know what's in yours, Jennifer.
And we're going to talk about our best tips for reducing our stress, because the less stress the humans are, that helps reduce the stress on our critters.
True.
So we'll start off with Patty P. What do you have on your top of your list? I bet I can guess what it is, but I'm going to be mum.
Well, anybody that knows me knows I do love a good glass of wine or gin. But Tigger, I'm going to shock you. That is on my list, but however, it wasn't number one. Would you like to know it? No, it was not. Well, it was, but then I decided not to make it number one.
I can't wait to hear what number one is.
Well, you're going to be surprised, but not surprised. Honest and truly, probably the number one stress relieving thing for me to do of all time is going on a trail ride. By myself, going on a trail ride. It tends to calm me down. It gets me back centered to where I am. I do have to go by myself, but it always gets me in the best place to deal with things. Just getting away from everything, just taking a walk and going on a trail ride.
I get it.
Yeah. And
Jennifer?
But I'm drinking while I'm doing that.
Yeah, I was going to say the little flask.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Jennifer, what's yours?
What I gave you for Christmas several years ago.
That was a flask? I thought that was a gallon jug. Oh, okay.
Flask. Your flask is my jug.
There you go. It's all in semantics. Mine, I can't say trail ride because Patty has taken that one. And one of my favorite things to do to de-stress, if I can be outdoors, I go for a hike. Again, alone, thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if I can't be outdoors, I'm a drawer and doodler, and I get my pad out and get some colors and do that.
Oh, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Do you do any of the coloring book things?
I do not. I've looked into that a number of times, and they make them that the each little block of color is so tiny. You know what I do? I go to the dollar store and I buy the coloring books for children.
Yeah.
They're much better.
On a flight, I had my phone, I was diddling around, and there was some notification about this coloring thing, and of course I signed up, and I love it, and I just do it on my phone.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you can just blow it up and pick your colors, and there's like 6 or 7 different palettes. And of course I don't follow what it's supposed to look like.
You don't color inside the lines, do you?
No way.
Which is shocking in some ways, I'm just saying.
Forces you can't color outside of it, but you can pick whatever colors you want. And I tell you, it is the most relaxing. I love it. And I love
it's an app on your phone?
It is. It's
what is it?
I mean, look.
Can't mention it and not give us.
See, I'm too independent for my own good. I tend to get a blank piece of paper and create my own little lines to color into.
Well, I doodle constantly. I mean,
yeah,
I doodle.
I'm a terrible doodler.
Yeah, I doodle, but I mean, I think that
it's called Recolor.
Recolor. Now, don't you just I just get stressed out looking at my phone. It's another electronic device with an LED screen. See, I can't relax when I've got an electronic device in front of me. I can't.
Well, when I'm coloring is generally when I'm in a waiting room, I'm in an airport, I'm somewhere where my phone has to be.
Right.
Yeah.
But the number one on my list is, this is not going to come as a surprise to Patty, is chocolate.
Oh, bless you.
Go-to
Bless you.
Yeah.
stress, and it's Ritter Sport Alpen milk.
Yeah, which
we need
I
to put a
still
link
can't
to
say.
that.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should, because she's mentioned this several times, Jennifer.
It melts in your mouth, and it's way better than American chocolate, I think, because American chocolate, you just want to keep eating more to get some sense of satisfaction.
Hmm.
But when you eat Ritter Sport, you can eat one or two little pieces, and you just let it melt in your mouth, and it's all good.
I'm gonna have to try that, because, and I'm not, as you know, Tigger, I'm not a huge chocolate person, but I do occasionally like to have chocolate. But I'm gonna have to try this now.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So what else is on your list, Patty P?
So these, well, this is my probably right under number one, so it would be like number 1A.
Wine.
I absolutely, I just like to take a nap with the dogs.
I have nap on my list too.
Do you?
Yeah.
But I like to do it with the dogs, because they just cuddle up to me, and in fact, I did it today. One of my probably favorite things in the world to do.
How about you, Jennifer? Is nap on your?
No, it is not. I'm not a good napper. I have to move when I'm wound up or stressed. I have to move. I used to go jogging a lot. It was my stress reliever as a kid. I would just go out and run for miles. It was a great stress reliever. I hike now. I can't run, but I go out and walk. Absolutely. I got to move.
That's good. That's a good one.
I like to watch funny movies or animated films.
Oh, that's good.
See, the hard part there is finding one.
Yeah, I can do stupid humor, though.
Are you good at stupid humor? Yeah.
I can do stupid, and animation for me just I bet I've seen Frozen at least 35 times.
Okay, I've never seen that.
What is the best stress relieving animated film ever?
Good question. I think it depends on what kind of stress, because I have several choices. Like, do you guys ever see Tangled?
Yep.
I don't know if I have.
That's the one with the girl with the long hair.
The girl with the long hair and the excellent horse.
Oh.
We had, get this, you'll love it. One of the gentlemen who animated Maximus the horse was on the Horses in the Morning Show.
No.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, I love that horse.
Maximus was the best horse ever. Yes.
The best horse ever, and the highlight of the movie.
Absolutely.
So what's next on your list?
Mine, I really love to groom the horses, but again, I need to do it alone, and it's not grooming to ride. It's just grooming, just to spend time with them and grooming. And and that's one of the reasons why I've never been able to groom and then ride, because I spend so much freaking time doing it. When I went to California a couple years ago to work with Christine Trower, we brought 2 horses, and literally we were in the barn for 12 hours a day, because I was just grooming and primping. And I love that. I love the whole part of it. I love spending the time. I love making them look perfect. I love that. Just, old fashioned. We were talking about this last time. What is our favorite grooming things? Like, just, really getting in there and just working their muscles and making them look shiny. And that's just so stress relieving to me.
There you go. That
Yeah.
is.
How about you, Jennifer?
Well, and on a similar vein to Patty's trail ride, since I now sit in a chair in front of a computer for a living, instead of going for trail rides frequently when I'm stressed out, I will take my horses for adventure walks where I'm walking and they're walking too. But we go for a trail ride.
Mm-hmm.
And we go uphill and down dale, through fields and across streams and whatever, just like you would on a trail ride. It just happens to be leading them. And I find that very, very relaxing because I get that physical activity out of it. Whereas, riding, I can't. I'm just basically sitting there. So back in the day, trail riding was very relaxing because I worked all the time in a barn. But now the adventure walk is mentally very relaxing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
For me, it's walking with the dogs and my camera.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, do you have a real camera, or is it your camera phone?
Oh, she's a camera.
Oh no, I'm a.
She's pretty awesome.
A amateur photographer nut.
Extraordinaire.
Now, do you
Yeah.
put your pictures up on one of the sharing sites or anything?
Facebook.
Just throw them on
Biostar
Facebook? Yeah.
Kemosabe.
You have your own
Yeah, and they're of
page.
all the dogs, they're great. They're great shots.
Cool. I'll have
And
to look it up.
I find that when I'm behind the lens, the world goes away, and I'm seeing the world from a totally different perspective. So, a couple of days ago, during the 4th of July weekend, I had made some banana bread that actually turned out to be more like a doorstop. And I was, it was my first attempt, and I was a little disappointed. So I went out. It was gluten-free, which I'm realizing when you don't use wheat, you lose some of that lightness of a bread.
You
'cause
think?
you're using different flours. Anyway, so I had this nice doorstop that I had spent considerable amount of time making. So I went out with my camera, and it was kind of raining, and I wrapped it up in a raincoat, and I went out with the dogs, and I sat down under a tree, and I took the camera out, and I looked at the grass, and it had little globs of water on it, and I just focused the camera on that, and I got so focused on the simple blade of grass in this water droplet, and boy, after that I felt great.
Oh, that's so cool, though. That's so cool. I think that's neat.
What do you have next, Patty P?
Drinking.
Yay.
There we go. Truth comes out.
But I didn't want to say it. But actually, watching funny movies. I love watching funny movies.
There you go.
So what are your funny movies to watch?
Oh, it's embarrassing.
Are you Dumb and Dumber?
Yes,
Oh,
just
God.
stupid humor. I love I can't think of her name. McCartney.
Melissa McCarthy?
Yes, I think she's hysterical. Anything with her or Sandra Bullock, I love that. But just and it's funny because Peter loves to watch old movies, old westerns, and whatever. And I just sit there and I'm like, I just can't do it. I'm if I'm going to sit down and stay awake, I have to laugh. I really have to
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah, got it.
How about you, Jennifer? What would be a funny movie for you to de-stress that's not animated?
I love watching The Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah,
It just takes me to my happy place,
Mhm.
the land of Oz.
Yep.
So my go-to is Trading Places
Mhm.
with Dan Aykroyd, and
Oh my gosh, I love that movie.
I love that movie. Makes me laugh every time. I've seen it 100 times.
Oh, that is so funny.
Okay, so what's next on your list, Patty P?
That's all I had.
That's so interesting that I lost the bet with myself. I thought for sure Jennifer was going to say, wine or beer.
Right.
I do have one more on my list.
Okay.
Aha.
Aha.
I still could be right.
No, I'm sorry, you're not. I love brain games.
Huh.
When you're stressed?
Yes, I have books and books and books of brain games. I find them very relaxing.
Interesting. But that makes sense to me.
Well, it gets your brain off of whatever you're stressed about because you really, really have to focus to solve the puzzle. I love solving puzzles. I'm a puzzle
No,
nut.
that makes sense to me. Yeah.
And I can't solve the puzzle if I'm busy being distracted about whatever I'm freaked out over, right?
Mm-hmm.
It forces me to focus and get off that loop. You just sit there and you loop over the what ifs,
Yeah.
And I find that, and I tend to be very stressed when I travel. So I always have a big book full of those that I bring along.
That's smart.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So, Tiggy, do you have any other ones?
I do.
Drinking. Oh, no.
No.
I'm with Patty on taking a power nap.
Yes.
Big on
I wish
that.
I could nap better.
And I'm pretty good in a 30 to 45 minute, for some reason I can just regulate myself, because sometimes if you sleep too long, then you wake up sort of groggy and like, where am I and what day is it? And the last thing is what many people who work at BioStar have come to rely on. It's a company called Megafood. They make a product called Tension Release, and it's ashwagandha, which when I actually was a consultant for Megafood, that's where I learned about ashwagandha, which became Equilibrium.
How about that?
Yeah.
It's in a convenient tablet, and I can tell you that the many BioStar employees swear by it.
Oh, I bet.
And what it does is, one of ashwagandha's actions, other than reducing cortisol, is it stimulates serotonin. And the few times that I have taken it, the experience is, when you're stressed, there just feels like there's a lot of noise going on in your head. And it's like all that noise goes away. It's like it's far away. It's there, but it's not, yammering at you.
Yeah.
And you're just in a very quiet, calm place. So I highly recommend Megafood's Tension Release.
Huh. How about that?
Okay. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. Goes great with wine.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. My tongue will be hanging out,
And it's
but I'll
legal
be
in
clear.
all 50 states.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. And actually, I've recommended it to riders who get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're still able to focus. It's not something that is, going to put you to sleep. It just pulls away the.
Well, you recommended it for Hannah when she couldn't study in high school, and it first because she and I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I think it was you and I. I don't know if you remember. She kept saying she had to have music in her ears for her to focus, and that was the one thing. And then you're like, and once she did the ashwagandha, then she was great because she really struggled with that for a while, and she used that all through college.
Glenn's the same way.
Really?
Anytime he's doing really detailed work, like when he's building websites and running spreadsheets and stuff like that, that's really, really taxing. He can't do it unless he's got the music playing.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah. I cannot have music. I can't have anything. It has to be completely silent.
Yep.
Anytime I do any studying or reading or whatever, I go in my room and I don't want to hear anything at all. I can't hear any, like I will put them in my ears so I don't hear anything.
So Tigger, which way are you? Are you the need the music or the need the quiet?
No, I need the quiet.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna need the quiet person too. See, we all match the Three Musketeers.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note,
I want to raise my sword.
I'm going to turn on
swords, right?
You raise our sword.
And turn on the music.
And turn on the
Turn
music.
on the AC/DC.
There you go.
And turn off the coffee pot.
That's right. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, BiostarUS. You can find them online at BiostarUS.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Love your dog.
Hug your horse.
Feed your chickens.
Clean your litter box.
Dance with your goat.
Slither with your snakes.
Howl at the moon.
Hang with your hamster.
Party with your parrot.
Waddle with your walrus.
Outwit your otter.
Cuddle your cows.
Rap with your raptor.
Go chipping with your chipmunks.
And forgive your fox.